That's why I hate it when you force me to do everything that's such a hassle. If you're not going to be cooperative, you should be the one to take care of your mother.
Just shut up and take care of her. If you don't like it, and if you're going to refuse, we'll get a divorce.
These words completely severed the relationship between my husband Lars and I, in which our relationship has been on thin ice. I can't be with this man anymore. Fine, I understand. Then let's just get a divorce.
Excuse me? Wait, what are you talking about? When you have no money, no job, and no house, you're asking for divorce?
Oh, don't you worry about me. I'll go get the divorce papers as soon as I can.
Hey, wait a minute. You can't be serious, right?
My name is Megan. I am 32 years old, and I am a housewife. I have been married to my husband, Lars, for 4 years now. We were originally colleagues working for the same company, but when we got married, I left the company to become a full-time housewife. My parents divorced when I was very young, and my mother took custody of me and raised me as a single mother. But my husband did not care about that at all, and took very good care of me. My husband was 2 years older than me and was working in the upper management, so his salary was stable. I think we had a really nice honeymoon when we first got married. I had always had a strong desire to get married, and since my parents were divorced, I longed to be in a normal married life. Maybe that's why I became a full-time housewife. I concentrated on house chores and supporting my husband, who earned money and provided for the family, and I thought that was my happiness. Although my husband was sometimes a bit of a bossy husband, I was happy in my own way. Recently, however, my husband started talking about something really surprising.
Can I talk to you for a minute?
Oh, what's wrong?
My mother wants to live with us.
What?
It's been 2 years since my father passed away, right? It's getting hard for her to live alone. My mother is 65 years old now, and she has some chronic illnesses. That's why I'd like to take care of her.
I was surprised at this unexpected proposal. My mother-in-law, Debbie, who has been living alone since my father-in-law passed away, says she wanted to live together with us.
You know my mother is getting weak in the legs. Always being home alone is inconvenient, and it makes me a little anxious about many things. Apparently, my husband wants to live with his mother too. I knew about her chronic illness, and I was concerned about her, but I had no idea that she would actually suggest to move in with us. I had my doubts, but my husband has strongly requested it many times, so I decided to welcome Debbie into our house. When we decided to move in together, my mother-in-law sold the house she had been living in and came to the apartment where we were living, as if she had been preparing for the move. This is how my life with Debbie began. I did not have a bad impression of Debbie. I did not visit her at her place often, but she was kind to me when I went to visit her during Thanksgivings and New Year's holidays. So I thought there would be no problem if I started living with her. However, when it came time to move in together, Debbie began to show her true nature, which she had never shown before.
Megan, can you lend me some money?
Huh? Why?
I'm going out to the cafe with a friend. I don't have a job, so I don't have enough money at the moment, you know.
But you do get pension, right? Besides, you have your husband's inheritance and money from selling your house that you had, don't you?
I beg your pardon? What, are you implying that I shouldn't go out and see my friends?
No, it's not like that. But the bag that you wanted the other day, we just paid for it out of our expenses, didn't we?
How stingy are you? It's fine to at least pay for the cafe. I'm going to tell Lars about this. You're a housewife in the first place, so it's Lars who's actually paying for it anyways.
That's true. But my husband entrusted me to manage the family finances. So if I don't do my best, our life will eventually become difficult because of Debbie's habit of spending money. And since your legs are getting weaker, I think it would be better if you didn't go out so much.
You're always making excuses, huh? You really are an inflexible woman.
Saying this, Debbie angrily went back to her room. No matter how angry my mother-in-law may be with me, this thing is non-negotiable. But it looks like Debbie convinced my husband.
Hey, Megan, what did you say to my mother?
Huh?
I heard from my mother that you were trying to forbid her from going out with her friends and lock her up in this house.
What the? I didn't do that. Debbie didn't even give me back the money for the bag the other day, but she asked me to lend me her money for going to cafe with her friends, so I refused.
Huh? Why did you even refuse her request without telling me? I'm the one who earns money here, so I decide how to spend my money. You could at least hand her the money for cafe.
Fine. To this, Debbie grinned and said to me,
See, I told you. It's Lars who's paying for it. Well then, give me $50.
Excuse me? $50 for the cafe?
Well, you don't know how much it costs, do you? So if that's the case, it's normal to bring money just in case.
Yes, but...
Just give her $50. God, I really didn't think that you were such a difficult wife.
Huh? So it's all my fault then? Lars spoils his own mother too much.
Wow, Lars. You must be having a really difficult time. All right, I'll step up here and educate Megan about being a wife.
What?
Mother, really? That would be great.
It's for you, Lars. Of course I'd do that.
Who do they think they are? I came to know not only Debbie's true nature, but also that my husband was a mama's boy. Having received permission from my husband, Debbie got carried away and began to behave more and more terrible towards me. She complained that my cooking was bad and tasteless. She complained that the vacuum cleaner was too noisy. She complained about the timing of my laundry, and she complained about my house chores. I am sure she doesn't like anything I do. Furthermore, it seems to feel like she is always acting like the guest of the house and never helps me with the house chores. I would appreciate it if she would do things like hang the laundry or wash the dishes, but no matter how much I asked her to do so, she always insists,
Don't abuse an old person like me who has chronic illnesses.
No matter how much I tried to talk to her, she would eventually ask my husband for help and treat me like I was the bad guy. In the end, my husband gets angry with me and I end up feeling terrible. I guess this is exactly what being bullied by a mother-in-law must mean. Debbie's attitude is as bad as ever, and my husband takes Debbie's comments to heart and treats me like I'm a bad wife.
If you annoy my mother too much, I'll kick you out of the house.
He would even say such things like that. Debbie always smiles when she sees me getting yelled at by my husband. What in the world have I done? If I had been mean to Debbie, I would understand. But I do my house chores, manage the finances, feed my husband and mother-in-law well-balanced meals, and treat them normally. And yet, I can't stand the fact that they are so mean to me just because I am Debbie's daughter-in-law. I found myself in this situation for about 6 months. The stress from Debbie bullying me built up, and I finally developed a stomach ulcer. Initially, I was treated at a local clinic, but I needed to be hospitalized and was referred to a large hospital in town, where I was admitted. When my mom found out that I was hospitalized, she came to visit me every day, even though she lived far away from the hospital. As a result of the days I spent not feeling alive, I got sick and had to be hospitalized. I was quite depressed, but my mother's daily visits helped to heal my heart little by little. On the other hand, my husband and Debbie did not come to visit me. I ended up being in the hospital for 2 months, and during that time, they came to visit me only once. When I told them how long I was going to be in the hospital, my husband said,
What? You won't be home for that long? Wow, you really are useless, huh?
And Debbie would also say,
You don't have the guts. I'm in much worse shape than you.
What do these people think I am? When my mother came to visit me afterwards, they would quickly leave. Seeing them leave without saying any proper greeting, I was disappointed not only in Debbie, but also in my husband. Just the thought of having to live with those people again after leaving the hospital was horrifying. Perhaps the reason I was in the hospital for so long was because I was thinking about that. Later, I was finally discharged from the hospital. When I called my husband, he said he understood and came to pick me up by car. I was thinking that he still had this kindness in him, and when he saw me as he picked me up, he said,
"It was really difficult while you were gone, you know."
When I asked him what he meant, he said that even in front of my husband, Debbie made him do everything, saying things like,
I can't cook today because my leg hurts.
or,
I need to take a break, so do the cleaning and laundry.
so Lars had to do the house chores after work and on his days off, which was really hard for him because he didn't have time to rest. I was a little happy. My husband understood the hardships of doing house chores and dealing with Debbie. This would stop him from taking Debbie's side in everything, and he would listen to me. And my husband was actually kind to me even after I returned home. Whenever Debbie says something unreasonable, he would warn her, saying,
"Mom, don't talk like that."
Debbie looked frustrated and reluctantly did as my husband said. It was really hard for me when I had to be hospitalized because I felt I had reached my limit in terms of being treated like that by Debbie, but I am glad that things have changed in this way. I wish my husband would have changed without me having to be hospitalized though. But then, the situation changed again. On the way home from a tea party with her friends, Debbie fell off the stairs at the train station and injured herself. Unfortunately, the injury itself was not so serious, but as a result, the chronic illness she had in her leg worsened, and she became unable to live her daily life easily as before. The doctor told her that she would require long-term care. Debbie was going to be hospitalized for the time being, and when Lars returned home, he wanted to discuss the future with me. At that time, I thought that my husband would cooperate with me and take care of Debbie together. But what my husband would say was unbelievable and not so nice.
"I'll leave it to you to look after my mother."
Excuse me?
"You're the one who stays at home during the day all the time, and it would be better if a woman did it, wouldn't it?"
Now, wait a minute. Why is it decided that I would be the only one looking after her? You should be the one taking care of her at night or on your days off.
"I'll be tired and exhausted from working. I'm too tired to take care of her after work, and I need to recover my strength on my days off. That's why you should be the one to do it, because you're the one who stays at home all the time, right?"
I was just really disappointed. Nothing has changed. He throws all the troubles to me. He would rather not take care of Debbie at all because of the mess he had to go through while I was in the hospital.
"I'm counting on you to take care of my mother."
My husband tries to end the conversation by saying that. No, I can't lose here like that. If you're forcing me into this like that, I won't take care of her.
"Huh? What the hell are you saying?"
Lars sounded irritated from what I said.
"Don't be so selfish. Who do you think you owe your life to?"
That's why I hate it when you force me to do everything that's such a hassle. If you're not going to be cooperative, you should be the one to take care of your mother. When I argued in this way, my husband said something outrageous.
"Just shut up and take care of her. If you don't like it, and if you're going to refuse, we'll get a divorce."
These words completely severed the relationship between my husband and I, in which our relationship has been on thin ice. I can't be with this man anymore. Fine, I understand. Then let's just get a divorce.
"Excuse me? Wait, what are you talking about? When you have no money, no job, and no house, you're asking for divorce? Even if we get a divorce, you really won't have any bright future ahead of you. There is no way that we should get divorced."
It seems that my husband has suggested the divorce upon me as a threat. But to me, it was no longer a threat, it had become just a talk of separation. Oh, don't you worry about me. I'll go get the divorce papers as soon as I can.
Hey, wait a minute. You can't be serious, right?
My husband was obviously upset, but I guess he didn't want to lose and show how upset he was. He fidgeted and just watched silently as I prepared to leave. I was on my way to the town hall when I called someone. Oh, hello. Sorry to call you so suddenly. Can I take you up on the talk that we had before? Yeah, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm even heading over to the town hall right now. Really? Thanks. Well then, see you soon. After that, I went home with the divorce papers. When I entered the living room, my husband still looked upset, and he was just looking over at me and didn't move. Here are the divorce papers. Just sign these.
Are you sure about this?
What? So you had no intention of getting a divorce, but you say things like we get a divorce? You're so lame and stupid. When I provoked him, my husband's face turned red, and he got angry.
Fine. If you're fine with it, then sure. Let's just get on with it. I thought I could reconsider about divorce, but we're done for. I'm divorcing you.
Whatever. Just shut up and sign here. I urged my husband, who was being reluctant on signing the papers and not holding a pen. He sat down on a chair loudly and signed the divorce papers.
There, you sure about this, huh?
I ignored these words and signed my part. Okay, well then, I'll submit the papers. Then I started packing up my stuff. While I was packing up my stuff, my husband was there just fidgeting around, not knowing what to do. I guess he wants me to stop the divorce. But I've reached my limit. I packed my things without worrying about my husband and loaded them into my mother's car, which arrived a few minutes later. Well, good luck taking care of Debbie. I said this to my husband for the last time and left the house. My husband seemed to want to say something. I laughed in the elevator, remembering my husband's facial expression, which was in a shock. I immediately filed the divorce papers, and my divorce from my husband was successfully finalized. Then, about 2 months later, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I thought it might be a work-related call, so I answered anyway. What the heck do you want from me?
Hey, Megan, when will you come back here?
Huh? What the heck are you saying? We got divorced, you know. And now we're strangers, you know.
Oh, don't say that, and please, just come back. You've been a full-time housewife when you were with me, so you're only working part-time jobs, right? Even if your mother lived with you, it would be hard for you to make ends meet even if you both worked part-time jobs, since it's just you and your mother.
I mean, you shouldn't even be worrying about me like that since we're divorced.
Please, Megan, please, come back. Not only am I taking care of my mother with her leg injury, but she's also got dementia, and she's throwing tantrums all the time, and the house is a mess. Let's start over with our married life like the old days, where I earned a decent amount and you take care of the house.
I couldn't help but laugh. You just want to have it easy for yourself, huh? I'm sorry to say this, but I'm working hard at my friend's company as a full-time employee at the moment.
What?
My friend knew about my Spanish skills, and now I'm in charge of dealing with an overseas Spanish company. So, the salary is pretty good. If your salary hasn't changed, I probably earn more than you now.
No way.
So, I'm not in need of a place to live, money, job, or anything else. In fact, I'm super happy to be free from you and Debbie. So don't contact me anymore. If you try to contact me, even if I change my number, I will call the police immediately.
Oh, hey, wait.
Before my husband could say anything, I hung up the phone. I heard from a former colleague of mine who still works at the same place as my ex-husband that my ex-husband was demoted because he couldn't rest his body and mind at home because of taking care of Debbie and kept making mistakes at work. However, the cost of caring for Debbie is very expensive, so he is still in a difficult situation, and his income has been reduced, which makes it even more difficult. Well, he got what he deserved. On the other hand, I have steadily built up my career, and my income has increased. I am now living a comfortable life in a slightly more expensive apartment. It's amazing how much bullying can end you up with a stomach ulcer. And even though Lars experienced it once and learned how hard it is to take care of the house chores and his mother, he is just the worst for trying to force everything onto Megan. I can only say that he deserved to be abandoned by Megan in the end, and all the burden came to him. I hope that Megan will continue to work hard at her job while also fulfilling her private life. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.
My selfish husband left me in the middle of nowhere at night, and I was rescued by a stranger who brought the judgment day upon him.
My husband, who asked me to be a housewife, goes berserk at me for being exactly a housewife. And my mother-in-law keeps pace with him and criticizes me every day. If you are there to show the slightest rebellion, if you can't obey us, get the heck out. At last, I'm left in the middle of nowhere in the dark with nothing but my clothes on. I might not make it. Just when I lose hope, a knight on a white horse appears in front of me. I'm Amelia, a 30-something housewife. I'm now a full-time homemaker, but I used to have a career. My husband Mark and I both worked and shared the chores for a little while after we got married. I decided that I'm not doing any housework from now on. I want you to stay at home and take care of the house. I'll earn enough for us. I resigned from my job at his request. He had never lived alone, so he was not used to doing laundry, cleaning, and cooking. It took him a long time to do those things. Since no one can do everything perfectly from the beginning, I thought he would get used to them slowly. On the contrary, he had given up at once. Although I was anxious about quitting my job, I thought if we had a child, I wouldn't be able to continue working as before. I told myself that the occasion arrived a bit sooner than expected and agreed with Mark. I come home and dinner's ready. It's so nice to come back to a tidy house. In the beginning, he was very appreciative. I was motivated by his happiness and did my best to keep a nice home for him. As time went on, whenever I sat down to take a little break, "Hey, stop slacking off and get to your chores. You haven't finished the dishes yet, have you? The living room is still a mess." He scolded me about cleaning and heating up frozen food isn't cooking. Don't just think about how to be lazy. He started complaining about every single thing. Housewives are so relaxed, aren't they? You take a nap during the day, don't you? Meanwhile, I'm working my butt off. Ugh, I gotta work tomorrow again. What a pain in the butt. He whined day after day, which got on my nerves. Then I'll quit being a housewife and go back to work. Let's share the chores like before. I proposed to him. I'll never do housework. How dare you talk back to the master of this house? Who do you think is supporting your life? He questioned me illogically. I knew that working could be tough. Just getting to the office every day on the commuter train was hard work. However, being a housewife wasn't easy either. He promised to make more money, so I thought that being married had motivated him. To be honest, nothing had changed. The only difference was the increase in complaints when dinner was too simple or the house was a little messy. It's not a good idea to trust a housewife with the family finances. He even kept all the bank accounts and cash under his control. He complained to me every day, called me incompetent, and told me to obey him. As my life continued, I started to believe that he cared so much about me that he was trying to teach me to be better. He was playing the villain because I couldn't do the housework perfectly. It was all my fault. My thought process became distorted. Looking back, I was completely brainwashed. At that time, I was living in a tiny world, isolated from the outside, and Mark was everything to me. Then one day, I bought an apartment. We are moving next month. As soon as Mark came home from work, he dropped a bombshell. "Excuse me? You bought an apartment without consulting me?" "Why would I do that? I'm the head of the household, and I'm the one who got the loan. Basically, you're living in my house for free." While I struggled to understand the situation, he continued, "My mom will be moving in with us." I was blown away by the nuclear explosion. I could not stand my mother-in-law Beth. She lived far away, so I saw her only a couple of times a year. In those short visits, she tormented me with 4 years' worth of harassment. Whenever we were alone, she even spoke to me in a way that degraded me. I loathed her. Mark told me before we got married, "My mom has a harsh tongue. She must be lonely since my dad passed away and doesn't have any bad intentions. You don't have to see her so often. I'm sorry to put you through this. Even after we get married, you don't have to deal with her any more than now. We'll never have to live with her, but I only ask you to visit her with me occasionally." That was why I had been putting up with her for a while. "Wait a minute, didn't you say we'll never have to live with her?" I protested, but he was having none of it. "Circumstances have changed, so just do as I say." He became furious. I never wished to be a housewife. I became one because he asked me to. I wanted to remind him, but when he raised his voice at me, my body stiffened and I couldn't say anything. Although it was a fact that I became a housewife at his request, I was being supported financially by him. When I thought of that, I couldn't argue with him. I wondered where the sweet guy I had married had gone. The moving day arrived, and I moved to a new apartment unconvincingly. It was a brand new building close to the train station. Beth had already been waiting there. As soon as she saw me, "Oh, Amelia, you're still as gloomy as ever. You're ruining the new apartment." She greeted me with her typical sarcasm. Mark didn't even intervene, but just said, "We're going out for lunch, so you'd better get to unpacking. And you're not allowed to turn on the heater until we come back." They left me with piles of boxes. I shivered in the cold as I frantically unpacked them. Obviously, I couldn't finish within an hour or two while they were out. They saw that the apartment was almost the same as when they left. "You really are useless, aren't you?" It's so frustrating that I have to live with such a clumsy person from now on. They laughed, making fun of me. After that, my life was hell. Beth always criticized everything I did. When I cleaned the room, "You sweep a square room round and round. The corners still got full of dust. That's what happens when you don't pay attention." She then deliberately vacuumed the room again. When I cooked a meal, "Your food is disgusting. I feel sorry for my son who's been forced to eat it. I'll make it again." She threw the food in a bin. When Mark came home, she reported a million lies about me neglecting the housework, how much she'd been struggling, and so on. Amelia threw all her responsibilities to me and did nothing again. Not only that, she complained about my cooking and yelled at me. I was frightened. She acted like a tragic heroine. Her eyes were moist, and she sounded like she was about to cry. Mark believed her lies and got enraged. "What have you done to my mom?" He threw the remote control, which hit the wall and made a dent. I don't remember saying such a thing to her. It's her who complained about my cooking. I retorted desperately. I was shaking, but I could not remain silent. "Liar, she's lying," Beth tearfully pleaded. "I know, Mom." He rubbed her back and glared at me. "You made her cry. Who do you think is supporting you to be a housewife?" I had enough. He grabbed my arm and dragged me out of the apartment. I was wearing my sandals and almost fell being pulled by him. Then he ordered me to get in the car and forced me into the passenger seat. There was Beth with a giddy look in the back seat. He started the car. I asked him where we were headed, which was ignored. We drove through the center and got farther and farther away from the town. We drove for about an hour and came to the densely wooded area in the dark. Suddenly, the car stopped. "Get out." What? I couldn't understand what he meant. "I'm telling you to get out of the car." "Why here?" "Shut up. If you can't obey us, get lost. Don't come back to us." "Don't tell me you're going to leave me in the middle of nowhere at this hour." I desperately grabbed the seatbelt, but he forcefully threw me out of the car. "Wait! Don't leave me here." I shouted desperately while they watched me from inside the car with smirks. Then they drove off. I ran after the car frantically, but it was out of sight in no time. It was a pitch-dark dirt road lined by dense forest on either side without street lights, lit only by moonlight. I didn't have my phone with me, so I wanted to get to where there were people quickly. I rushed in the direction I just came from. It was hard to walk with my sandals, which kept slipping off my feet, causing me to trip. It was freezing too. I kept walking, but after several trips and falls, I finally stopped moving. My teeth chattered and my limbs lost sensation. As I sat there at a loss, I saw the lights of a car in the distance. The driver noticed me, sitting by the side of the road. The car stopped and a man came out. "Are you okay?" "Oh my God, look at you." When I looked at myself, my hands and knees were covered in blood. I was suddenly dragged out of the apartment and was wearing sandals and an apron. I explained the situation to him, involuntarily weeping with relief at seeing another person. He covered me with his suit jacket. "I'll take you home." "Wait, I think you need to go to the hospital first." The complete stranger offered to drive me. Normally, I would be wary of getting into a stranger's car, but I felt like he was sent by God. I didn't want to go back to the apartment. I felt sorry for the man, but I asked him to drive me to my parents in the next town. My parents were shocked to see me suddenly show up in such a state. When I told them what had happened, they cried and asked why I had not come back sooner. They repeatedly promised the man that they would thank him properly at a later date. I was drained of energy and strength and could not bring myself to contact Mark. I just let myself be taken care of by my parents after that. My dad found a lawyer for the divorce for me and helped me with other things. I was very grateful. Just as I was thinking that I couldn't keep living under my parents' roof, Mark and Beth showed up. Amelia, are you there? Come out. I got a call from your lawyer. I will never allow you to get a divorce. I heard Mark yelling from outside. I tried to hide, but he kicked the front door and rattled the doorknob with all his might. My dad offered to go out, but I knew I had to do what I had to do. I asked him to call the police if anything and open the front door. As soon as they saw me, "Why didn't you come out sooner instead of keeping us waiting? Apologize and I'll forgive you." "Yes, apologize at once and come back home. Just listen to us from now on." They spat out illogical demands. They made absolutely no sense to me. Why did I need to apologize? I finally woke up from Mark's brainwashing and got a grip on my own life. I wasn't going to let them control me. Why would I apologize to you guys? You told me not to come back and dumped me like a piece of trash in the middle of nowhere. I'm doing exactly what you wanted me to do. Please leave. They probably didn't expect me to talk back and were taken aback by my defiant attitude. Moments later, their faces quickly turned bright red, and they began yelling at me. "Who do you think you're speaking to?" "I'm your husband." "That's right. You're being supported by him. You should know your place." The two of them started having fits, and it was pointless to argue with illogical people. Just as I was thinking about what to do, someone tapped my shoulder from behind. "What are you all yelling about?" Ryan, the man who had rescued me the other day, was standing behind me. He was invited to a thank you dinner at my house. "Don't disturb the neighbors." He came out to the porch. "Mark, what are you doing here?" I was surprised that he knew my husband, who was even more surprised than I was. "Why are you here?" He stared at Ryan with wide eyes. "Wait, he's from your office, isn't he? He's your boss." Beth looked at him with disbelief. I was wondering what jerk could leave a woman behind in the middle of nowhere at night, but it was you." He looked at Mark knowingly. "That was just a joke, you know." "That was in no way a joke." His scolding silenced both of them. They were arrogant to those who were in a weaker position, but meek to those who were stronger. If it was his boss, they would be even more vulnerable. If there was a wrong person or no one passed by, her life was in danger. What were you thinking leaving her there in the dark? Well, she was giving us hard times, so it was more of a discipline or an expression of love. He was dripping sweat down his forehead and was struggling to make excuses. Ryan stared at him in disgust and sighed loudly. "I see, that's enough." When he said that, Mark and Beth seemed to be relieved and gathered themselves to leave. "Well, then..." As they turned away, he coldly put a nail in the coffin. "Your attitude at work has been unacceptable. In addition to that, this incident has happened. We can't have someone like you in our company." "What do you mean?" "You don't have to come to work anymore." Mark's cheek twitched as he yelled. "This is BS. I thought it was strange that my boss was at your house. You've been cheating on me with him, haven't you? You two are in on this together. Must be. Sneaking around to meet up is called cheating. You owe us alimony. My blood boiled up when I heard them forcefully accusing Ryan. Enough. Who in the right mind brings a cheating partner to the parents' house? You guys are disturbing the peace in my neighborhood. Get lost. I shouted with a grimace I had never shown before, which worked on them. They spat out, "Don't you forget this," and left. I didn't need to be told that. I wasn't going to forget the way they abused me, and the distorted grins they looked down at me with. I was going to remember it all for sure. Wow, what a rumbling voice. You did it. He cracked up, clapping his hands. I smiled shyly with a mixture of embarrassment and happiness, an indescribable emotion. We have kept in touch since then. Mark never had to report to work and left the company voluntarily without giving notice. His professional field is relatively small. Rumors quickly spread that he's the kind of guy who abandons his wife in the middle of nowhere, and he's struggling to find a new job. He bought a new apartment to live in with his mom, but he was behind in his loan repayments and had to put it on the market. They are now living in a downgraded apartment together. I guess it was impossible for me to enter into their lives as a daughter-in-law, as they seem to trust only themselves. I'm in the process to get divorced now and living alone near my parents. Today, Ryan is coming over for the first time. I don't know what he saw in me, but he asked me out sincerely. I was attracted to him and decided to take a chance. While I'm cooking his requested beef stew, I'm excited looking forward to having him over.
My Mill left me at the bus stop and told me to hike for 4 hours to the destination. Her life changed 180 degrees when I arrived with my husband.
Wait, what? When I returned to the shadow stop after shopping at the store, my mother-in-law was nowhere to be found. I checked the timetable and found that the last shadow had left 5 minutes ago. As I was in despair, I received a call from my mother-in-law. "Judith, the shadow..." "Too bad for you. You're so inconsiderate to come along on our family trip in the first place. A stranger like you should walk 4 hours to the hotel. Understood?" I don't know why I couldn't fight back. I was just so shocked by the fact she hated me so much. My husband and father-in-law were supposed to join us separately. Now that the last shadow had left, I had no choice but to hike for 4 hours along the mountain road to the hotel. I was at a loss when a phone call gave me a glimpse of light. "My name is Sandra. I'm 30 years old. I work at a variety shop in a shopping mall. My husband Calvin and I have been married for almost a year. Since we had dated for 3 years and had lived together for 1 year before our marriage, it has been an ordinary couple's life with no major changes. My work has been going well, and I've been promoted to manager since the beginning of this year. The number of regular customers has increased, and some of them even come to the store specifically to chat with me. From the outside, one might say that my life is smooth sailing. However, I have one headache. It's the relationship with my mother-in-law Judith. She's been horrible from the first time I met her. When I visited my in-laws upon our engagement, she looked at me and said, "You can't be the fiancé, are you kidding me?" Her outrageous comment left my father-in-law and Kevin with their mouths hanging open. They were so shocked that their minds went totally blank. Calvin, who had come to his senses, hastily spoke up to her. "Mom, what the heck is wrong with you?" "Oh, no, sweetheart. I didn't mean anything bad. It's just that I had expected you to choose a prettier and classier girl." "Why are you being so rude? Sandra is the most wonderful woman to me. But, if it was up to me, I'd have picked someone more suitable for you." "That's enough. I don't want to hear about it anymore. If you keep insulting her, I'll never speak to you again." His statement made her instantly turn pale. She seemed to never have thought that he was going to defend me that much. She frantically apologized to him. "I'm sorry, Calvin. I don't mean to hurt you. I just want you to be happy." "My happiness is my decision. You don't get to decide what makes me happy." "It's my bad. Don't be so mad at me. I didn't mean to upset you." "Then promise me you'll never say anything bad about Sandra ever again." "Of course, I promise I won't." She clearly agreed in front of all of us on that day. That was why I decided to let it go and move on. I hoped that we will be able to build a good relationship in the future. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Her promise was only to smooth things out with Calvin at the time. One day, about 2 months after our marriage, I suddenly received a call from her. Calvin and I didn't have a wedding, so I hadn't seen or spoken to her since that day. I hoped she wouldn't say anything strange again, and anxiously answered the phone. "Yes, hello?" Immediately she let out a loud sigh and accused me of something. "Sandra, I hear you've been carried away." "Excuse me?" "Kevin told me you're forcing him to do the housework for whatever reason." "I don't mean to impose on him." "Maybe not. He also defended you and said you both work, so you share the housework. But you know what? Housework is supposed to be a woman's responsibility." I stifled the urge to ask her which ear she was stuck in and just went along with her. Taking advantage of the fact that I didn't talk back, she threw harsh words at me one after another. He's a sweet guy, so he accepts whatever is thrown at him without saying a word. If you take advantage of him, he will surely grow tired of you someday. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. I think only he understands how he feels. How dare you? I'm his mother. Of course I know him better than anyone else. But he's never said anything like that to me. Shut up. Don't you ever talk over me. That's why people with lousy upbringing are. The memory of the day I met her came back to me, and my blood rushed to my head with great force. I barely restrained myself and continued talking calmly. Well, with all due respect, you promised that you would never say anything bad to me again, didn't you? I didn't say anything bad. I'm just saying what I think. I'm hurt enough. If you just want to make an insulting call, could you please refrain from doing so? Oh dear, that's why I didn't want him to marry a disobedient girl. She was satisfied with what she had said and hung up the phone before I could say anything back. The sound of the disconnected tone echoing in my ears increased my irritation. What the heck just happened? Did she take her time just to insult me? I couldn't get over it. I was adamant to report it to Calvin when he got home. When he did that evening, I immediately brought up the matter. He looked surprised and apologetic. Seriously, I'm sorry after all the warning I gave her. Not your fault. I can't talk back to her too. You have the right to. I'll call her now. Thanks. He took out his phone and called her right away. He was talking harshly the whole time, and I could hear Judith sobbing on the other end. After about 10 minutes of talking, he ended the call looking puzzled. I'm confused. My mom kept insisting that she didn't mean any harm. She didn't, huh? Just like the last time? I mentioned to her a while ago that I was doing the housework. Apparently that prickled her nerves. That's what she said to me too, but don't worry, I'll clear up the misunderstanding once again. I told her that it is our intention to share the chores and that you are not forcing me to do it. She said she understood. I hope so. What concerned me was her excuse that she had no bad intentions. It bothered me a lot. After that, she stopped calling me, and we only occasionally visited my in-laws. Although she didn't blatantly pick on me, she tried to intimidate me by giving me a cold shoulder, bumping into me on purpose and so on. Even after a year of marriage, her attitude was still as cold as ever, but I had gotten used to it and stopped caring about her so much. Then one day, to my surprise, my in-laws invited us on a trip. Apparently, my father-in-law Dan had always wanted to go on a family vacation, but because of the relationship between Judith and me, he wasn't able to suggest it before. Since I had been paying much less attention to her, he interpreted it as a sign that we had been on the mend. He suggested that 4 of us go on a trip to a lakeside. Of course, Calvin readily agreed, but asked what I wanted to do. I had no reason to decline the invitation. I didn't know what Judith thought about it, but I thought it might have been a good opportunity for us to get to know each other better. With such positive thinking, I gladly accepted the invitation. 1 month later, on the day of the trip, we had to take a mountain road to the destination. At the foot of the mountain, there were many sightseeing spots which I was looking forward to visiting. Calvin and Dan, on the other hand, decided to go hiking in the mountains. Since Judith and I weren't so fit, we inevitably decided to go separately. Calvin asked me if I would be okay, but I didn't suspect she would do anything to me during the trip. I assured him that I would be okay, and we parted with a smile. As I thought, Judith never harassed me after we became alone. Sandra, look at this glasswork. Isn't it so beautiful? These pastries look delicious. Let's buy some for later. I read that this variety store is famous. Since you work in the same field, you must be interested. As if our previous relationship had been a lie, she was very proactive in interacting with me. I was so pleased with her that I had a smile the whole time. To be honest, I wasn't keen on being alone with her, but it turned out to be great, and I was moved. I let my guard down without knowing what awaited me later. It was almost dusk when we finished sightseeing. We were going to make the last shadow that Judith had checked in advance. When we arrived at the shadow stop, Judith looked at her watch and muttered we still had 10 minutes. It would take almost an hour to get to the cabin going up the mountain road. I was thankful for the shuttle service. Calvin and Dan were going directly by car. While Judith and I waited for the shuttle to arrive, she apologetically asked, "Sorry to ask, Sandra, but can you go buy me a drink? I'm a little thirsty." "Sure, what would you like?" "I'd like a tea, not too sweet. I'd also like some snacks." "Okay, I'll be back." I took my wallet and my phone and headed for the convenience store a short distance away. 10 minutes would have been enough time. I picked out some snacks that I thought she would have liked and paid the bill. But then when I returned to the bus stop, she was gone. Wait, what? I hurriedly checked the timetable and found that the last shuttle had left 5 minutes ago. As I was in despair, I received a call from her. Judith, the shuttle. Her high-pitched laughter cut me off. I was bewildered, not knowing what was going on, as she triumphantly said, "Too bad for you. You're so inconsiderate to come along on our family trip in the first place." Inconsiderate? Why did you lie about the time? Because you've been acting up and annoying me. You're just a stranger to me. Is that what you think of me? A stranger like you should walk 4 hours to the cabin. Understood? I don't know why I couldn't fight back. I was just so shocked by the fact that she hated me so much. At that moment, I felt sadness and an inexpressible anger welled up inside me. How dare she? What did I do to deserve this? Fine, I'll make it to the cabin by foot. I started to walk along the mountain path with determination. As I mentioned earlier, I wasn't so fit. I'm not good at running, let alone hiking. It was extremely difficult to walk uphill for 4 hours. About an hour into the walk, my knees started to buckle. Just when I was about to give up, I received a call from Calvin. "Hey, hon, Dad and I finished hiking early. If you haven't arrived at the cabin yet, we'll pick you up. Or are you already there?" I tried calling Mom, but she didn't pick up. I left her a message. "Help me." "Honey? Help me, please come and get me." I found myself in tears and screaming. The sun had already set, and there was only the mountain road ahead of me. My mental state had already reached its limit. I told him that Judith had left me at the shadow stop and that I was on my way on foot alone. He said he was coming right away and hung up. My phone rang again right after, and it was from Judith. I dared not answer it, but it rang incessantly. She must have read the message from Calvin that he was picking me up and called me in a hurry. She must have freaked out. I kept ignoring her calls and waited for Calvin to pick me up. Half an hour later, I was inside a car with him and Dan. I was so relieved and tears started rolling down again. Dan was already informed of what had happened and apologized to me with a bothered look. "I'm so sorry, Sandra. Judith has gone way over the line." "It's okay now. Thank you so much for picking me up. You must have been scared alone in the dark. Here, take this." He handed me a cup of hot tea. "Thank you." It filled me with warmth. The sadness I had felt earlier was gone, and only anger toward Judith remained. When we arrived at the cabin, she came running up to me, clutching her phone. "Oh, Sandra, thank God you're okay. You're safe." "What? I didn't think you would miss the bus." "I went ahead, but I was going to ask Calvin to pick you up." Apparently, she wanted to treat the incident as an accident, not intentional. I missed the bus by chance. That was what she was going for. Unfortunately for her, I had already told the others everything. She told me a false time and made me go to the store at the right moment. That alone was enough to convey malice. Calvin and Dan headed straight for the main building, without getting their luggage out. Where are you guys going? When Judith asked, Dan replied coldly, We are leaving. I'll pay for this place, so don't you ever return to my house. Wait, stop him, Calvin. Calvin glared at her, who trembled with fear. We know you did it on purpose. I trusted you, but it was all a lie, wasn't it? Sweetheart, that's not true. It's all a misunderstanding. What did I misunderstand? You lied about the time and left Sandra behind. That's what you did, right? Always pretending it wasn't your fault. It was always you. I'm deeply disappointed. Oh, Calvin, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm not the one you should be apologizing to. I have no intention of forgiving you anyway. The father and son turned their backs to her and walked away. Then she grabbed my arm with a pleading look. She was probably trying to get me to forgive her and get on the good side with them. I shook off her hand and said firmly, Please don't touch me. I don't have the slightest intention of forgiving you. But why? I'm genuinely trying to apologize. Do you really think your apology is credible now? I will never forget what you have done to me, and I will never forgive you. I will never think of you as mother-in-law. Please never try to get in touch with me. Goodbye now. Wait a minute, Sandra. Hey. I went to join the others, leaving her sobbing. Afterward, I heard she tried to follow us home, but it was already dark, and she gave up the idea. When she returned first thing in the morning, Dan had already packed her belongings and declared divorce to her. She contacted Calvin to apologize, but of course he refused. He has no intention of seeing her again. She has been cut off from her family, who have been together for many years. I wonder how she will live on her own from now on. She will probably have to face the harsh reality, but it doesn't matter to me anymore. That day, she had already ceased to exist in my mind. I can only thank Calvin and Dan for believing my words and helping me. From now on, I am going to build an even better relationship with my real, trustworthy family.
My husband's parents come over suddenly to the house my mother, my husband, and I live in. As a result,
Hey, Liam, what's with all these boxes?
What do you mean, what's this? These are my parents' things. We're going to live together in this house.
Excuse me? What are you talking about?
Mom and Dad are getting old, and I think it's time for them to move in with us.
Why are you making this decision on your own? We don't even have a spare room for them to begin with.
Then why don't you ask your mother to move out?
I beg your pardon? What the hell are you saying? My name is Harley. I am a 32-year-old office worker. I met my husband Liam through work and we got married after a year of dating. We are currently in our third year of marriage, but we have no children yet. We live at my parents' house with my mother. We started living together when my father passed away a year ago. I am very grateful that my husband agreed to live with my mother. However, there are still some things about my husband that I cannot help but be disappointed about. First of all, my husband does not do any housework, even though we both work. Rather, he is too lazy, so he puts a lot of burden on me and my mother for house chores. Hey, how many times do I have to tell you not to leave your clothes out like this?
Well, as long as the person who notices puts them in the laundry basket, it doesn't really matter.
Then, put them in the basket when you take them off.
Why do I have to do that every time?
Well, we all live together, so it's important to be considerate, right?
Isn't family the one thing you don't have to really be considerate about?
You're not getting my point at all. My husband is always like this, taking it the wrong way and quibbling over it. He tries to force his way out of an argument in order to push his way through. He is just like one of those debaters from the TV. If only Liam made as much money as those debaters from the TV, then I wouldn't complain much, maybe. And my husband, as you can guess, doesn't even cook. My husband is always home earlier than me, and he always comes home on time. When I come home, he is in a bad mood and says,
I'm hungry. What's for dinner?
Hey, can't you help me cook a little? I'm busy with work too, and sometimes I come home late.
No, I can't. Because I can't cook.
Well, even if you can't at first, maybe you can try to help me cook.
No. It'll only delay the whole dinner to get ready, you know?
My husband never does house chores under any circumstances. Well, it is true that it is faster if I do it by myself, but I at least want him to show me an attitude of cooperation. Even if he can't handle a knife, it would be a great help if he would just tear vegetables or wash dishes and utensils that were used during the cooking. But my husband only complains and is always lying on the sofa, either watching TV, reading books, or playing with his phone. But I still had affection for him because I had married him after falling in love with him, and I was grateful that he agreed to live with my mother when we had only been married for a year. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye as I kept repeating the cycle of how I'm disappointed in my husband, but also kept on thinking, but. And after 3 years, circumstances and environments change. My mother has been getting sick more and more often lately. So I drive my mother to the hospital every Saturday. Liam, about taking Mom to the hospital tomorrow?
Oh, I can't make it.
Excuse me? I haven't said anything yet.
You want me to drive you there, right? I don't want to do that.
No, I just wanted to say I'll be gone during the day and I just wanted you to take care of the house.
Oh, you were asking that, huh? But I can't do that either.
What? Why not? Were you planning to go out or something?
I can't because I'm reading my favorite book. I have to reread this chapter, actually.
Well, you can do that after you do your chores.
No way, no way. Do you know how much I have to read? I have to read and see if there is anything I missed, or else there's no point in getting that book.
I may have been naive about my husband. My husband has allowed me to live with my mother, but I feel like he only appreciates living with me. And then something terrible happened. It happened one morning. As I was making breakfast, my mother came in looking sick. What? What's wrong, Mom? You're sweating like crazy. Are you perhaps not feeling well?
No, it's just a little hot.
Huh? You didn't turn on the air conditioner? It's over 86 degrees today, remember?
Yeah, I didn't turn it on.
Why not? Mom, your room is poorly ventilated and it's really difficult without the air conditioner.
Well, that's...
I then heard a shocking fact from my mother.
Liam asked me not to use the air conditioner so that he could save on utility bills.
Excuse me? Liam said that? I got mad and immediately went to my husband's room. Hey, Liam, what is the meaning of this? My husband looked annoyed as I angrily opened the door with an angry face.
Why are you coming at me so early in the morning?
Is it true that you told my mom not to turn on the air conditioner? As I said that, my husband nodded with a look that said, What's wrong about that?
Well, we're the ones paying for the utilities, so It's only right that you warn your mom not to use it too much, right? And your mom is the one who spends her time in the room during the day.
But what if Mom gets sick?
What are you talking about? She won't get sick just because she's not using the air conditioner.
Even heat stroke can be fatal for the elderly. I mean, what's the matter with you for telling my mom not to turn on the air conditioner? The air conditioner is on in this room right now.
It should be fine for me. I'm paying for it. What, do you care more about me or your mother?
What?
You always talk about my mom this, my mom that, but aren't you neglecting me too much? Don't you think so?
What the hell are you talking about? I was stunned and disappointed. I can't believe my husband would say such childish things. I didn't think he was such a wuss who would ask me to choose him or my mom. Anyway, I'll let my mom use the air conditioner or the fan freely.
What? Why's that? Isn't that unfair?
What's unfair about it? Even my mom pays for the living expenses from her pension, you know. You can at least let her use the air conditioner freely. When I said this, my husband became silent, looking unconvinced. Since then, my husband and I have been in a bad mood. Then something happened that surprised me even more. That day, I was working as usual. Then I suddenly received a phone call from my mom. It is not often that my mom calls me while I am at work. Was something wrong? I told her that my husband would be home today since he's on paid leave, and if my mother looked sick, he should take her to the hospital right away. I immediately picked up the phone. What's wrong, Mom?
Actually, something terrible is happening. Harley, please help me.
Huh? Please calm down a bit. What happened?
Suddenly, a lot of packages had arrived and Liam had brought his parents over.
Huh? What the hell? I talked to my boss about it, and I was immediately sent home. And since I didn't want to miss a second, I got in a cab and headed home. Then I saw a mover's truck parked in front of my house. What on earth was going on? When I entered the house, tons of cardboard boxes were placed in the living room, in front of which my in-laws were flapping their hands to cool them down from the heat.
Phew! It's hot indeed.
Is there an air conditioner in this room? Yes, there is. Feel free to use it.
I went over to my husband first. Hey, Liam, what's this?
What? You don't have work today?
My mom called and my boss let me leave early. What's with all these boxes?
What do you mean, what's this? These are my parents' things. We're going to live together in this house.
Excuse me? What are you talking about?
Mom and Dad are getting old, and I think it's time for them to move in with us.
Why are you making this decision on your own? We don't even have a spare room for them to begin with.
Then why don't you ask your mother to move out?
I beg your pardon? What the hell are you saying?
Because your mom is quite old, isn't she? If that's the case, wouldn't she be better off at a nursing home than at this house?
I couldn't believe it. Has he always been like this? Did he change his personality along the way? I thought he was a more decent and gentle person when we were dating or when we just got married. It's been one betrayal after another. No way. I can't believe you would say that.
Oh, God. You're such a pain in the ass. Can't your mom just get the hint? It's annoying to have you stay there any longer.
No way. My in-laws think it's their house already, so they don't even enter into our conversation and they just take the liberty of getting a drink out of the fridge and start relaxing. That's enough. I don't approve of your parents living with us.
No, my parents are my priority. Your mom is the one who needs to leave.
Liam!
Oh, Harley, that's enough.
No, but...
Liam, you have been so annoyed with me for some time. And yet, thank you for living with me for these 2 years. Well, it was really tough. I had to put up with it because I didn't have to pay rent.
Liam!
Harley, it's okay. Liam, you don't have to live with us anymore. Oh, well, that was quick. But then please, leave as soon as possible.
No, you are the one who's going to leave.
Excuse me?
You and Harley should discuss what to do from now on.
As a mother, I want Harley to get a divorce as soon as possible. What are you talking about? This house belongs to us as a couple, so it's you who should leave, right?
What? What the hell are you saying?
You've been talking to me like I'm an idiot all this time.
Well, duh. This is my mom's house, you know.
What? Oh, it's not your house, Harley?
It's my mom's house. And even if it was my house, it wouldn't be your house.
Huh? Because it would be joint property of the couple.
Why don't you go back to studying again? You have no right to decide who lives in this house.
Oh no.
My husband was in shock. My in-laws had been told, "Don't worry, I'm in charge of this house," by my husband, and they seemed to trust him completely.
Well, I guess I'll have to ask you and your parents to leave. And make sure to send these boxes back. With your money, of course, Liam. If you and your parents try to stay, I will call the police.
My mother said quietly and calmly, and my husband was frightened, saying,
Oh no.
"Of course, I'm divorcing you."
Divorce? Well, wait a minute.
No, it's already been decided. Do you have any idea how much you have disappointed me? How can I stay married to someone who treated my mom like that? You too. You better pack your bags and get the hell out. My husband yelled at me and started to pack up his belongings as if he was scared. My parents-in-law must have been quite scared of me and my mother because they quickly left the house, got into their car, and drove away. My mom was shocked about what had happened, so she slumped down on the spot. "Mom, are you okay?"
That was so scary.
"Mom, take it easy, okay?"
I'm sorry.
"But you were so cool, you know."
Thank you. I'm sorry for bothering you, Harley.
No, I'm the one who caused you trouble, actually. I'm so shocked that I don't have an eye for good men.
Well, can't really deny that part.
Hey, Mom, you should at least support me. I then strongly told my husband that I would throw all the boxes outside if he didn't come and get it, and made him come and get it. At that time, my husband said,
We already sold my parents' house, and it's going to be gone at the end of this month. Please, help me.
But I ignored him and gave him the divorce papers so that he could sign them.
So, you're really divorcing me?
Of course. If you don't accept it, I'll fight you in court. My husband is a coward, so he gets really scared of the words like court and police, which is why he immediately signed the divorce papers. Thus, our divorce was successfully finalized. My ex-husband rented an apartment quickly and asked a contractor to move his parents' belongings there. However, a large amount of boxes arrived in such a small apartment, and now they are living in a very cramped space. Moreover, because the in-laws' house was too old, it could not be sold for much money, and the in-laws have very little money. Therefore, they have to make ends meet for 3 adults on my husband's salary, and they are having
a very difficult time. Along with those explanations, there were emails from my ex-husband asking me to get back together with him. But I ignored them all and blocked him. And just to be safe, I issued a restraining order to the ex-parents-in-law's family. Because this way, if they suddenly assaulted me again, the police would rush to the scene immediately. After that, my mother and I are still living together as usual. We can spend our time comfortably with the air conditioner on as much as we want. And there are no more person like my husband making more mess than necessary, so it's really peaceful. I don't want to be in love for a while, so I'm going to focus on my work while spending more time with my mom. Thank you for watching until the end. If you like, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.